There is something almost strange about watching Shen Yue and Zhang Wanyi in the trailer for Be With Me, because the trailer is full of arguments, frustration, a marriage that seems to be falling apart, and two people who sometimes look like they have absolutely no idea how to understand each other. But if you've been following this drama since filming began, there's another side to these two that makes those scenes even more interesting. Welcome back to Asian Star Spotlight. Here, we don't just talk about Shen Yu's dramas, pairings, possibilities, and co-stars. We explore the stories, the facts, and the bigger picture behind her journey. If that sounds like your kind of content, subscribe and join us right now. Behind the scenes, Shen Yue and Zhang Wanyi weren't always giving us this tense married couple energy. Sometimes they were laughing. Sometimes they looked completely relaxed around each other. And apparently, there was even one scene where Shen Yue laughed so much that Zhang Wanyi reportedly ended up eating 6 hamburgers while they repeated the take. And honestly, I think that tiny detail makes the trailer much more fascinating. Because now, when you watch them arguing on screen, you're not simply watching two actors who look convincing together. You're watching two actors who spent months building a relationship that had to work in completely opposite directions. On camera, they needed to make us believe that these two people had been married long enough to get tired of each other. Off camera, they still had to find a way to laugh together. And that contrast may be one of the biggest reasons people are suddenly so curious about Be With Me, because this isn't just another Shen Yue romance. In fact, romance isn't even the most interesting part. The first trailer immediately tells us that Zhou Yu, Shen Yu's character, and son Jingcheng, played by Zhang Wanyi, are already married. And they're not exactly living happily ever after. They're at the point where divorce has entered the conversation. That's a very different starting point for Shen Yue. Usually, when we see a young female lead in a romantic drama, the story begins with possibility. Who will she fall for? Will they meet? Will they misunderstand each other? Or will they eventually fall in love? But Zhou Yu and son Jingcheng have already passed all of that. They've met, fallen in love, gotten married, and somewhere along the way, something started going wrong. That immediately gives Shen Yue a much more complicated character to play. Because Zhou Yu isn't simply trying to win someone's heart. She's trying to decide whether the life she already built is still the life she wants. And that's where the trailer caught my attention. Because Shen Yue doesn't look like she's playing a woman who is simply angry with her husband. She looks tired, frustrated, stubborn, but also deeply invested. And that's important. Because if Zhou Yu didn't care anymore, there wouldn't be much of a story. The tension comes from the fact that she still cares enough to be hurt. And Zhang Wanyi's son Jingcheng gives us the other half of that equation. He's not introduced as some perfect husband. In fact, quite the opposite. He's carefree, impulsive, and at least initially, he seems much less prepared to deal with the responsibilities of adulthood than Zhou Yu is. But then the trailer starts showing us something else. A man who is slowly being forced to grow up. And this is where Zhang Wanyi becomes particularly interesting. His performance is not being sold through exaggerated melodrama. He's using his original voice throughout the drama, and some of the early reactions specifically picked up on how natural his delivery feels. There's even a moment near the end of the trailer where his voice completely changes the energy of the scene. Suddenly, this isn't the carefree man we saw earlier. Something has happened. He's carrying responsibility now, and you can hear it. So when you put Shen Yu's Zhou Yu beside him, you get two people moving in opposite directions. She's already tired of carrying certain things. He's only beginning to understand what it means to carry them. And that creates the real tension between them. But here's where the behind-the-scenes footage changes the way I look at all of this. Because during filming, we kept getting little glimpses of Shen Yue and Zhang Wanyi looking surprisingly comfortable together. Their set photos didn't have the stiff feeling of two actors who had just been thrown together. They looked relaxed. And by the time filming wrapped, the two were photographed together holding their flowers, with fans immediately reacting to how natural the picture looked. The production itself also described the story as one built around people living under the same roof, sharing responsibilities, arguing, making up, and continuing to love each other through all of it. So that relaxed atmosphere behind the scenes actually makes sense. They weren't trying to manufacture a perfect romantic image. They were building the ordinary rhythm of two people who spend a lot of time together. And then came one of the funniest stories from filming. According to entertainment accounts, Shen Yue reportedly laughed during a scene so many times that Zhang Wanyi ended up eating 6 hamburgers while repeating the take. Now, I wouldn't treat that as an official production fact. But even as a reported behind-the-scenes story, it's hilarious. Because imagine what that means for the actors. The scene is supposed to be serious. You're trying to build this complicated marital tension. And Shen Yue starts laughing. And Zhang Wanyi has to keep doing the scene. And apparently, keep eating. 6 hamburgers later, someone finally gets the take. That tiny story tells us something the polished promotional material can't. These two weren't spending 105 days treating every moment like some grand romantic performance. They were working, repeating scenes, getting things wrong, laughing, trying again. And eventually, they had to turn all of that familiarity into something much heavier on screen. Because the story they were filming wasn't easy. Be With Me is built around 4 families living under the same roof. That means Zhou Yu and son Jingcheng's problems don't exist inside a romantic bubble. Their marriage is tangled up with parents, family expectations, responsibility, generational differences, and the 1,000 little arguments that happen when people are close enough to know exactly which buttons to push. That's why the production's central idea is so revealing. Home is not a place for arguing over who's right. Home is a place for love, and suddenly, the trailer makes more sense. Because the arguments aren't really the destination. They're symptoms. The real question is whether these people can learn how to live with one another without constantly trying to prove that they're right. And that is a much more mature story than simply asking whether a couple will end up together. In fact, there's something almost ironic about the way the trailer has been received. Before we saw the footage, a lot of attention around this drama was focused on the casting. Would Shen Yue and Zhang Wanyi work together? Would the combination feel convincing? Would their different acting styles clash? But then filming actually happened. And little by little, we started getting evidence that they could function properly together. Not through some giant romantic gesture, but through ordinary moments, repeated takes, through laughter, and through simply spending enough time together to become comfortable. Then the trailer arrived. And suddenly, all those light moments had to disappear. Now Shen Yue has to look at Zhang Wanyi like someone who has disappointed her. Zhang Wanyi has to look at Shen Yue like someone he loves but doesn't fully understand. And the audience has to believe that these two people have enough history between them for a single argument to carry years of frustration. That's a completely different challenge from playing 2 strangers falling in love. And I think this is why the trailer is so interesting. Because the chemistry isn't being tested through romance. It's being tested through conflict. Can these 2 actors make us believe that they know each other's habits? That they know how to irritate each other? That they know when the other person is hurt even when neither of them says it? That they can argue about something small because something much bigger is sitting underneath it? Those are difficult things to fake. And the trailer gives us several glimpses of exactly that kind of relationship. But there's another detail I don't want to overlook. The filming period itself wasn't completely effortless. There were reports and fan discussions about repeated NGs during production, including claims involving Shen Yue's scenes. Those reports became tangled up with fan disputes, so I wouldn't use them as proof that she was difficult on set. But the fact that repeated takes were being discussed at all tells us something more ordinary. Making a realistic family drama is hard, especially when so much of the emotion lives in tiny reactions. A pause, a look, A line delivered slightly differently. A moment where someone almost cries but doesn't. And that is exactly the kind of performance the trailer is beginning to show. Zhang Wanyi's strength here seems to be in those small transitions. One moment he's almost boyish. The next, something happens and the entire posture changes. And Shen Yue has the opposite challenge. She has to make Zhou Yu's strength feel believable without making her cold. She has to show frustration without turning her into an angry wife. She has to make us understand why this woman would consider leaving, while still making us wonder whether she really wants to. And that's where I think the trailer has done something very clever. It hasn't sold us a perfect couple. It has sold us a couple we want to understand. That's a much stronger promise. Because if they were already perfect, there would be nowhere to go. But these two? They have history. They have problems. They have families pulling them in different directions. And somewhere underneath all of that, there is still something keeping them connected. And now we come back to those funny moments from the set. The relaxed moments between Shen Yue and Zhang Wanyi, because those moments make the trailer's heavier scenes feel even more interesting. When you know that the actors could laugh together behind the camera, you start noticing how completely different their relationship becomes when the camera starts rolling. And that tells me they weren't simply relying on their natural personalities. They were building characters. They were deliberately creating distance where the story required it. And perhaps that's the most promising thing about this drama. Not that Shen Yue and Zhang Wanyi look cute together. Not that they have an instantly marketable romantic pairing. But that they seem capable of making us believe in two completely different versions of their relationship. The playful version behind the scenes. And the complicated version inside the story. And if they can carry that contrast throughout the actual series, then Be With Me could become one of the more interesting roles Shen Yue has taken on. Because Zhou Yu isn't asking us to watch her fall in love. She's asking us to watch her figure out what love is supposed to look like after the excitement is gone. After marriage. After arguments. After disappointment. After responsibility. And maybe that's why the trailer has created so much anticipation. They're waiting to see whether these two can make us believe in something much harder. And after seeing what happened behind the scenes, I'm even more curious to see what happens when the cameras finally stop showing us the actors and start showing us Zhou Yu and son Jingcheng. Because if the laughter, the difficult takes, the ordinary moments and the emotional scenes we've already seen are any indication, this may be one of those dramas where the most important moments aren't the loudest ones. And that's what makes Be With Me worth watching. We're going to have to watch her character decide whether that history between she and her husband is something worth saving. After all the controversy that surrounded this casting before filming even began, that's the part one find most satisfying. The question is no longer whether Shen Yue and Zhang Wanyi should have been paired together. They've already done the work, finished filming, and the trailer is here. And honestly, this is the part I want to hear from you about. When you watch Shen Yue and Zhang Wanyi behind the scenes, and then compare that to what we're seeing in the trailer, which side of their dynamic has made you more curious about Be With Me? The fun, natural moments between them, or the complicated relationship we're about to see on screen? Tell me in the comments, because I have a feeling we may all be watching this drama for slightly different reasons. And now the only thing left is to see whether the relationship they built on set can make us forget the actors and believe in Zhou Yu and son Jingcheng. Because if they can, then Be With Me might be very different from the Shen Yue dramas we've watched before. And I think that's exactly why so many people are waiting for it. Take care, and I'll definitely see you in the next one.